Yo guys, I'm back. It's been 4 days since I've uploaded. Sorry for the bad lighting. I made this video. I'm gonna make this video in kind of a rush. I haven't uploaded in 4 days. The reason why I decided to take a break for to get some videos out because these videos take a ton of time. So I really appreciate if you do leave a like or show some kind of support because these videos do take a very long time to make. So with that being said, I think I've been uploading every day for 2 weeks. I took a 4-day break. I think I'm going to upload every day except for Saturday. I think Saturdays are a good day to regroup, take some time off, relax from making videos. Right now I have about 4 videos made that are ready to pump out the next 4 days, and Saturday's tomorrow, which means I'll like reload or whatever. But obviously I've been working on the project. I've mentioned in a couple videos, but I'm really excited. About another 2 weeks, and it'll be ready to launch. And I think it'll be really cool, especially the way the world is today. I think it'll be really cool. And the product is like the project is coming out at a perfect time. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Today's video is 3 trades that need to happen for Yannick Ngakoue. So the first trade is going to be kind of odd, maybe be shocking when you first hear it. It'll be Derek Carr, a first-round pick, going to Jacksonville for Yannick Ngakoue and a 4th-round pick, either for this year, but it'll be a 4th straight up, or next year it could be a compensation pick and be up to a 3rd-round pick. The reason why I think this is, obviously John Gruden and Derek Carr do not see eye to eye, and I think the Raiders are looking to move on from Derek Carr either at the deadline this year or maybe in the next offseason when he'll have 2 years left on his deal. I think the Raiders have 2 first-round picks, and Yannick Ngakoue is better than any player they're going to get in return or in a first-round pick. It's like last year they drafted Clelin Ferrell. They could have easily traded that and got a lot more value now. The Raiders are in a different situation where they're not in rebuild mode, but they're also not in win now. They're kind of stuck in nowhere, but there are a couple pieces on both sides of the ball from contending. I think a solid offensive lineman, not Trent Brown, but anyway, a good offensive lineman away. I say a consistent number 2 running back, a slot receiver. Hunter Renfrow has perfect talent, but obviously they have Tyrell Williams as their number 1. And I think if they can upgrade that slot receiver's position and a solid pass rusher, that linebacking core is good. They've added a lot on that defense this year. And the secondary could use some work, but they still have LaMarcus Joyner and a couple other guys. But anyway, I think the Raiders to give up a first-round pick could be a little bit too much, but in return, Yannick Ngakoue, like I said, is better than any player you can get with that first-round pick in the draft. And that D-line, if you add it, because in the first round, with that first-round pick, you're going to go receiver probably, and then after that, it's going to be best available. So instead of using that pick to select someone that's best available who you have no idea if he'll fit your offense or defense, whatever you select, just get Yannick Ngakoue. You have Arden Key and Maurice Hurst you can put in the middle, and then you have Clelin Ferrell who you can try to develop, and then you can have Yannick Ngakoue, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league. Yes, he is overrated, but he is one of the best. I think you're like, well, how can he be one of the best and overrated? There's plenty of guys like that. For example, Joey Bosa. A lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I think Joey Bosa is one of the best pass rushers in the league, but he's not top 5. And for the Jaguars side of things, you get a first-round pick, which will make you have 3. You can start your rebuild. You have a quarterback who will be under contract 2 years after this 2019 or 2020 season. So pretty much 3 years of Derek Carr. And then you have a first-round pick to add on, like I said, 3. You could start your rebuild, jump-start it, and you're going to get rid of a 4th-round pick. And the Jaguars have a lot of mid-round picks, so it's not much to lose up. But next year, they will not have a lot of draft picks at all. So the Jacksonville, you get them, you get rid of it. You're taking on a salary, and that's another thing for the Raiders. They don't have much salary cap, and getting rid of Derek Carr frees up a bunch, and that's huge in this modern day of building a team in free agency. This second trade can be kind of confusing, and all these trades are kind of confusing, and it'll take a long time for me to explain. The Steelers, I think, should target Yannick Ngakoue. They have a perfect D-line except for on that left side, and you could make it either or. The ends is where their biggest problem. Yes, TJ Watt is an end, but he plays linebacker. Same with Hayward. He's more of an inside guy, so you kind of want an outside presence so you can move J.J. Watt around instead of having him placed on a left side or a right side. You could put him any side or any like at a linebacker or even in the inside, kind of like what his brother does. He could do anything. He can line up in at a 3-4 linebacker. He can be a 4-3 D end or a 3-4 D tackle. I mean, you could put him anywhere. So the Steelers give up Vance McDonald, Joe Hayden, and a 3rd-round pick. And a lot of people are saying that's nothing. I don't think the Jaguars are going to get much value for Yannick Ngakoue. It'll kind of be like a Jadeveon Clowney. The Texans were searching for a trade. They took 2 linebackers who are not even on the roster anymore and a 3rd-round pick. And the Jaguars can get more out of these 2 players in that pick than the Texans did, Vance McDonald is their biggest hole, to fill. Tight end was their biggest hole. They've been trying to search. Yes, they did sign Tyler Eifert, but if you're a football fan, you know why Tyler Eifert's And then Joe Hayden's a lockdown corner. They lost A.J. Bouye. They didn't get much in return. They obviously traded away Jalen Ramsey last year. And getting a star corner like that in a defense that relies heavily on a one-on-one corner, Joe Hayden does struggle in man, but he shown some flashes the past 2 years of his old self. And then that third-round pick, obviously, for multiple reasons, you want some kind of draft capital, and you're going to want a draft pick for Yannick Ngakoue. And for the Steelers, Vance McDonald's not a big hole. They signed Eric Ebron, and they have a couple young guys that are on there. Losing Joe Hayden, yes, their corners are very, very weak, but if Joe Hayden is by far their best player in the secondary besides Minkah Fitzpatrick. So when you add a pass rusher like that, the corners don't have much of a work. Or same if you have good corners, your defensive line doesn't need to do as much work. So the Steelers stack up that D-line, which will help that weak corner or that weak secondary provide for that defense. Their linebacking core is great. Their defensive line is great. So if you add that defensive line, it'll make that job for your secondary much, much easier. And like I said, they don't need Vance McDonald. Right now, he's their third-string tight end, and he's actually, I would say, a top 15 tight end, and he's a third string on their depth chart. And then Steelers have a lot of draft capital this year and next year, besides their first-round pick. So I think a third-round pick is enough to give up. And then the third trade, I think the 49ers should trade Jerick McKinnon and Dee Ford for Yannick Ngakoue, Avery Jones, and a 7th-round pick. And a lot of 49er fans are going to get all mad. Dee Ford was very, very good. You could put him anywhere. You could put him in coverage. You could put him in the middle. You could put him on the outside. You could put him in a contain when they played good teams that have a scrambling quarterback. And Jerick McKinnon's been on this team for 2 years. They gave him a huge contract when he left Minnesota. Hasn't even played it down. With 2 back-to-back injuries, full or season-ending injuries, it's kind of hard to do that, or hard to keep him when you have a guy like Breida, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, and even a couple guys that you drafted last year in the 6th and 7th round. And you're going to replace those 2 guys with Ngakoue, who is just a beast. I think. Obviously, this is his video. He's a Pro Bowl pass rusher, and he's going to get paid like a top pass rusher. He's obviously an upgrade from Dee Ford, and he's a perfect opposite of Nick Bosa. And then you have Avery Jones, who's a huge defensive lineman, and he's a perfect fit for this 49ers defense. Losing DeForest Buckner, they're going to really need to fill in that inside, because DeForest Buckner was a great pass rusher from the inside from the D tackle position, along with Solomon Thomas. So yeah, I think that's just perfect. And they get a 7th-round pick. They're obviously going to want draft capital. The Jaguars are giving up a lot, but the Jaguars are getting a guy who could back up Leonard Fournette, or even start if they do decide to move on from Leonard Fournette. And they get a pass rusher in return that is probably comfortable being on a bad team and a bad organization for a couple years before he hits the open market once again. I think both sides, this is a very good trade for both sides. The Jaguars are getting up a player who hasn't really hit his full potential in Avery Jones, who's so good at using his weight as a run stopper, and is very, very talented. He's one of the most underrated guys on that Jaguars defense. And he was an understudy during that huge 2017 team. So I think the 49ers could really use a big guy like that, because their whole D-line is just speed. And losing Buckner and trading Dee Ford loses some speed, but you get a guy that could stop that run, and you can add even a faster guy in the end and a guy on the outside. And obviously getting rid of Jerick McKinnon isn't much of a loss, and then you're gaining a 7th-round pick in return. So that is 3 trades for Yannick Ngakoue that need to happen. I think one of those 3 is perfect. The Steelers is probably the last option, and it's more of like a Jadeveon Clowney Seahawks trade. And then the Raiders is more, I think that's more realistic for a team to give up a star player, a first-round pick for Yannick Ngakoue and a mid-round pick. Whatever team that is, it'll be a star player, first-round pick, Yannick Ngakoue and a mid-round pick. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said in the beginning of this video, these videos take a very long time to make. I have to make sure the salary caps are right, the players are right, their contracts are right, and if it even makes sense with their system and scheme. And then I have to record it, edit it. It takes a very long time. So I really would appreciate you guys leave a like.